Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your host, Jonny Lipsham.
Hello everybody, welcome to Songwriting Simplified. I actually had to look over on that screen and check there for a second, because I didn't do a show on Sunday. But yes, here we are, and I'm on my own tonight. Jonny is having a well-earned and well-deserved rest, break, bit of recuperation. He's doing fine. He just needs a bit of a break, and he and I talked about that this afternoon. So he's doing fine, and all is well. There's nothing for you guys to worry about. He just needs a bit of a breather. So I said, absolutely fine. Take a breather. You have more than earned it. Doing, a live stream for an hour, 5 nights a week for the last 5 years. I think you've earned a vacation, is what I said to him. So that's what's happened today. So he is chilling out and kicking back, and hopefully normality, the normal kind of level of, Jonny Lipsham insanity will return next week on Wednesday. And we're kind of toying with the possibility of Songwriting Simplified being hosted here on my channel for a little while. Just because it means that Jonny really doesn't have to do anything to set anything up. So, it appears that it's a little bit easier on his voice doing it that way. So it is something we are considering. Don't know if we're actually going to do it yet. We've got a little bit more talking to do on that point, but for sure, something like that might happen with Songwriting Simplified, but I don't think we have any other plans for any other major changes to Wednesdays and Songwriting Simplified. It's going to carry on going, whether I'm hosting it with the two of us here on my channel or the two of us over on his channel, or whether we do them as solo shows like we're doing tonight and like we sometimes do. But yeah, either way, that's kind of what's going to be going down. We're going to keep this show going for the foreseeable future. So I hope everybody is well. Otherwise, I've had a very busy day. I'm pretty tired myself. So I will pretty much be going straight out that door, switching the light off, and going straight to my bed as soon as we're done here. But yes, we've got, 17 or so people here, which is pretty cool. 8 likes, which is nice. Thank you very much, folks. If you are watching the show and you are a new person and you've just kind of stumbled upon it, or you clicked through from one of the Facebook groups, and this is your first time here, then do hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. Subscribe to Jonny's as well over at the Home Studio Trainer channel. And also hit the notification bell and select all notifications. If you're watching us on your mobile phone, then please do select all notifications. I think that's the only option you get when you're doing it from a phone or a tablet or something like that. So yeah, please do that. That helps both me and it helps Jonny out quite a bit. The more subscribers we have, the higher subscriber count we have, the more people engage with our content, with mine and Jonny's. And then that means we just continue to grow our channels, and that would just be super cool and awesome. And also you get access to a whole bunch of other content that I do on my own and he does on his own. Jonny does some of the best Studio One tutorial content in the business. He really does. He's one of the best. And I do mine as well. And we work hard at creating content, and we work hard at doing these shows. So we would definitely appreciate your support. So with all of that housekeeping stuff out of the way, as they say here in Edinburgh, I'm fairly soon going to have to get used to not really talking about Edinburgh, because we are definitely moving out of Edinburgh in the next few weeks. We're not going far. We're going to maybe about 25 minutes further south and east of here where we are, and we're kind of in the southeast suburbs of Edinburgh. So if you ever were to look at it on a map, you would see the southeast suburbs of Edinburgh, and then you just keep going for another further 25 minutes and you would arrive at our wonderful brand new build home, which we're really excited about. So Jonny Lipsham Studios will have a permanent studio space, which is roughly going to be the same kind of size as this, which is really cool. I am very excited about that. All right, let's go see who is here. And then we'll get into your questions, because that's basically what tonight is going to be all about. Jonny and I did actually have something planned, but we will postpone it until we can both be available at the same time. So let's see. We've got John Lake here. We've got Thomas over in the Philippines. We've got Marcos in Brazil. I love Brazilian music. I'm a big fan of bossa nova. I'm a big fan of samba. I'm a big fan of frevo and marcha and all of that music. I love it. And we've got Alps Media as well, who is the sponsor of Home Studio Trainer. He is here, and that would be Louis over at Alps Media. He's awesome. He's a great guy, and he does a great job with Alps Media. And what he does at Alps Media is he is a dealer for Persona's hardware and software. So he will hook you up with some pretty darn good deals for any Persona's hardware and Studio One and Notion and all of that. He will take great care of you and give you lots of TLC in the process. So please do go check out Alps Media and what he has to offer over there. Moving on, I'm just going to say some random strange words in a language that I have never learned. Music to Motion is here as well. Lollipop Girl, pretty much the usual crowd are here. Ronald Figura. I always am tempted to say Figuera, but it's not. It's Figura. So I have read it carefully this time. Ironweed Studios is here. Awesome. Welcome. And then that's me saying starting in Jut. A couple of mins. I cannot spell. Let's see. Who else do we have here? We have Tony Stringer is here. Tony, long time no see. Good to see you, mate. Welcome. And Billy Morgan and John Edgar says, here we go. Yes, we are here. Lockdown Band Chappie is here as well. And I'm just scrolling down until I find people that I've not seen. Dwayne is here. He says, I'm lurking. Lurking is fine. If just to say to anybody who doesn't normally come to any of these shows, if you're brand new to it, please do say hello in the chat. I promise to read out what you have to say. Also, if you were to type the @ and then Jonny Lipsham Studios in front of anything that you want to ask or anything you want to contribute that you would like my direct attention on, yes, type @Jonny Lipsham Studios in front of that. And what that does is that highlights my name with a red background, and it means that I see it very clearly, and I can pick those ones out from everything else. So if you do that, especially if you're asking a question, it'll make it a lot easier, and I am less likely to miss your question. If I do miss your question, because it is going to happen sometimes, then certainly feel free to copy paste it and repost it, and I will try and grab it. So, yes, I hope that helps. Let's see. John actually, I think, has a question. He says, what are some of the values and merit of using various time signatures in music composition process, especially odd time meters like 7/4? Great question. Odd time signatures are really useful. They do a couple of really cool things. Number one, they show that you are a little bit more musically literate than some other people, which kind of sets you apart a little bit from the crowd of composers, songwriters that only write in 4/4. And it's a change. It is something different. that other people might not be doing in your particular genre. That's one thing that it does. Second thing, have you ever seen a dance floor at a disco? I don't tend to go to discos very much, but when I have always found this experience hilarious. There'll be something in 4/4, a few songs, and there are lots of people on dance floor, and the dance floor gets filled with people. And I have asked a DJ to do this as an experiment, and I said, "Look, I know it might kill your set. It's okay. I will pay you a little bit of I will pay you to do this. I'll give you a little bit of extra money if you do this as a little bit of a kind of music experiment, a social engineered experiment, a bit with music as well." And so I said to this guy, "Can you put, I forget who the artist who wrote the song, there's a song called Money, and it features, I think it's in 7/4, and it features like a cash register in the arrangement as well." And I thought, wouldn't it be brilliant if after we have this nice 4-to-the-floor disco tune, and I think it was Dancing Queen by ABBA, and right after ABBA, I said, "Go on, put Money on," whilst the dance floor is filled with people. It is a song that is familiar to people. It was a hit. It was a big hit. A lot of people, got into it. And so I said, "Go ahead, put that on and see how people, let's watch. Let's see how people dance to 7/4. And the results were really interesting. People have no idea how to dance to something in 7/4. It's really interesting watching them try, and it's actually pretty hilarious. But the point is that 7/4, or any odd meter for that matter, can provide, you can make your music sound a little bit lopsided. You can make the rhythm and the meter sound a bit more off kilter. Now, where this is really effective is if you just if your song is in 4/4, if you drop in a bar of 5, and it can elongate the phrase a little bit. Now, the best time to use something like a different time signatures is either that the whole song is written in this other time signature, or you are using this particular time signature, maybe 5/4 or 7/4, in order to extend a phrase for a particular dramatic effect. Like you're wanting the music to kind of suggest something that isn't a lyric, and so you want to extend the phrase, so you kind of stretch out the tension just a little bit, and then you let it snap back into 4/4. Lionel Richie does this in All Night Long. If you listen to the bridge section of All Night Long, it's got this nice pumping little disco thing going on, but then there's that little bar of 6 that crops up, and it's just like 3 bars of 4 and then a bar of 6, and the reason why it's done is because the phrase of the lyric actually required the music to do that, so the music does that, and it just gives this little off-kilter moment in the song. So you can certainly do that, and have an otherwise 4/4 song with just the occasional bar of 3 or 5 or 7 or something like that. Or you can have your song that is just set in that particular time signature, whatever it is. Another thing you can do is you can have alternating time signatures. So you can have like a bar of 7 and then a bar of 5. I've done that. I've played tunes that kind of do that. It's just like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2. You get those kind of things cropping up a lot in Middle Eastern music. So if you listen to some Turkish music or Uzbeki music, you will find things like that cropping up in the kind of, as the further east into Eastern Europe and then down into the Middle East you go, you'll find those kind of rhythms and those kind of time signatures coming up. Now, they are really, really effective at just providing an unusual little kind of undulation in the rhythm. So how do you go about counting those things? Especially if the tempo is fast. It's a challenge. Let me tell you, as a drummer, first and foremost, it's a challenge. There are different things you can do. You can either apply different counting techniques where you subdivide the beat into certain constituent parts. That is one way to do it, and I have done that. Like, for example, with 7/8, so 7/8 notes in a bar, what I tend to do if the tempo is fast, so those eighth notes are going really fast, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's a challenge to count like that. So what I do is I go, okay, I can divide 7 into 3 pairs of eighth notes plus a triplet at the end. So a set of 3 eighth notes, except it's not really a triplet. They're 3 even eighth notes at the end. So I can go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and a 1, 2, 3, and a 1, 2, 3, and a, yeah, for 7. So it'd be 2 pairs, sorry, not 3. 2 pairs of eighth notes and then a set of 3. So you can count it that way. You can go 1 and 2 and 3 and a 1 and 2 and 3 and a 1 and 2 and 3 and a 1. That really, really helps. Things like Dave Brubeck's Unsquare Dance does that. That's kind of how that goes. And then it's kind of like 7 4 7 7 8 7 8 7 8 6 8 7 8 7 8 7 8 6 8. And that's how that kind of goes, which is why he calls it an unsquare dance. If you know what a square dance is, you'll kind of get the joke a little bit. But yeah, you can certainly do those kind of things. I've played tunes like that quite a bit. But yeah, odd meters is something very, very, very well worth exploring. And certainly counting it is going to be fun as well. Let's see what else we got. So I hope that answers that question there. I think that was John. Yeah, John Edgar. Ronald says, any version of Figuera is fine. At least you didn't say Figuera. Oh, so yeah, okay. Yeah. Yeah, I it's funny. Just looking at your last name, Ronald, I don't think I would ever say it that way. So Figuera, I'll try and say that. At least they don't call you Figaro, is what I would say. Money's Pink Floyd, yes. I now remember. It's because humans have 4 limbs, not 7. Very funny, Mika. I'm glad you're here, by the way. I did not see you come in. Let's see. Yeah, Unsquare Dance is actually in 9/8, which is always good fun. Music to Motion says, odd timings hurt my brain. They did for me as well at first, until I learned different ways to count them. And in fact, with practice, I end up not actually counting them at all. It's all done for me now. It's all done by feel. I know what 7/8 feels like at any tempo. I know what 9/8 feels like at any tempo. And what that means is that I can hold the pulse internally and be able to play right across it if I want to. So I'm not really worried about bar lines anymore. I can go right across them. I can play almost completely arrhythmically and always know where beat 1 of every bar is, because it's felt internally, because I've learned how to internalize those time signatures. And especially if they are varying. If like I have like a bar of 5/8 and a bar of 9/8, which does happen sometimes. And if the tempo is fast, you can't really go 1 2 3 4 5 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 1 2 3 4 5 1 2 3 4 5. That is really going to just totally get you, and you're going to end up playing something that sounds robotic and mechanical, or you're going to be writing something that is robotic and mechanical because you're going to go, I have to do something in an odd time signature, therefore it's going to be the 1 is going to be very, very clear, because if I don't know where the 1 is, nobody else is going to know where the 1 is. Trust me, people actually know. Whether they have been exposed to lots of time signatures or not, they know where the 1 is most of the time. So you're never going to have that problem too terribly much, except at a disco maybe, where you play something that is in 9/8 and which is obviously inappropriate for a disco, and the folks on the dance floor, it's hilarious. They just don't know what to do. It's really funny to watch. I recommend you try something like that. Pay a DJ an extra $30 or something to play something like Unsquare Dance or Pink Floyd's Money. It would be so fun to watch. You will enjoy it. So yeah. You can break things down into kind of smaller chunks as well. So I was talking about eighth notes earlier. I was talking like pairs of eighth notes and then groups of 3. Well, you can do that. You can go 1 and 2 and 3 and a 1 and 2 and a 1 and 2 and 3 and a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1 and 2 and 3 and a 1 and 2 and a 1 and 2 and a 1 and a 1 and a 1. You can do all of that, and it'll help you. It'll help you to internalize those kind of pairings of pairings of 3s and 2s, or you can come up with little little bits of verbiage that will fit it. Like, for example, triangle is a great word because it fits a little a group of 3. So you can go triangle, 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 triangle. Okay, so what are we going to do for a pair now? I don't know. Think of something that would go with a pair of, that's a 2-syllable word. I don't know, you could go triangle, triangle, shoelace, shoelace, shoelace. Although shoelace is really rather hard to say, so don't choose that. Go for something that's, a 2-syllable word. And then, Blue Rondo a la Turk, that's the baby. I'm not Unsquare Dance. Unsquare Dance is definitely in 7, I think. Blue Rondo a la Turk, which is what I was singing, and I was just giving you the wrong title for it, is in 9/8. Thank you, Ronald. Yes. You wouldn't know it, but I am quite a big Brubeck fan. I have been to see him many, many times over the years, and actually I have met him and interviewed him. I interviewed him for a radio station, which was great fun. He's actually a really, really, really nice guy, and very, very generous, and has a great sense of humor. And I learned a lot because, being a piano player, we talked about piano, we talked about harmony, we talked about his approach to harmony and his approach to rhythm and kind of where all that comes from. And it was great talking to him about those kind of things. I learned a lot. Let's see. John says, would you say that including triplets are a big part of writing in 7/4? Not necessarily. I mean, you can phrase 7 like that. You can have like 7 triplets in a bar if you want to. But you don't have to. You can make it nice and straight, 1 2 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 1 3 4 5 6 7 1. You can make it as straight as a die if you really want to. You can actually have a fairly straight rock beat that would fit 7/4. 1 3 4 5 6 7 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 1 3 4 5 6 7 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 1 2 da do da do da do da do da do da do. You could do that if you really wanted to, and it would fit perfectly. Another fun thing for you to try out if you're into being experimental with rhythm, and if you've never been experimental with rhythm, please try it. And that is to have a 4/4 groove in your drums, but have different things in different time signatures. It's great fun to do. It's great fun to try it out with your band. You'll have a hard time notating it, especially in something like Notion, and you'll have a hard time kind of like, there is no way to do more than one meter, more than one time signature simultaneously in Studio One. But just because you can't actually have, I'm going to have 4/4 and 3/4 at the same time, visually represented on the screen in Studio One, you can still do it musically and rhythmically. It will still happen. You just have to use the grey matter in here a little bit, and you have to count a bit. But it is worth doing, and I've done this with different pieces of music over the years. There's a minimalist composer, American composer called Steve Reich, and he writes a lot of percussion stuff. And there's a great piece of his. The title of it I have completely forgotten. But it requires the drummer to play a very straight rock beat. One, bat, boom, bat, boom, bat, boom, bat. And then the marimba, because I think this was written, as I recall, for a percussion ensemble. So the marimba was providing this little bass riff. But this little bass riff was in 7/8. And then on the top of that, the vibes come in, the vibraphone comes in, playing something in 5/8, I think it is. And so you've got all of these different things going on, and each one has a different beat one. But here's the thing, because of the way mathematics works, eventually at some point, all three of those different time signatures, 4/4, 7/8, and 5/8, will all land together on the same beat one, and then they will split off and go off in different directions, and then they'll come back again. They'll go off, and then they'll come back again. And that is actually one way in which you can structure an entire piece of music. If that kind of idea of minimalist concepts appeals to you. If you've never done it before, give it a try, and maybe go, okay, we're going to start, and then the next time everything lines up on beat one, so the 5/8 and the 7/8 and the 4/4 all land together on beat one at the same time. That's where we're going to change mode, or we're going to change key, or we're going to change chord, and that'll be the next section of the piece. And then they'll go off again, and then when they come back, that'll be the next section. Or we'll go back to the first section. Give that a try, because that is great fun to do. And it's actually really interesting for the listener, because what you find out is that you get all these really interesting little cross rhythms that just go across of each other and weave in and out of each other. And it's really, really interesting to listen to. And then, of course, you've got that 4/4 pulse on the drum set that gives the listener something that they are familiar with to hang their hat on, and everything else will, to their ears, to the average listener's ears, will feel like everything is in 4/4, and all of these things are just weird little polyrhythms. So they'll use the 4/4 reference for all of these other things that are going on, but you won't, because you're the composer and you're the smart person in the room. It's definitely worth trying. It's lots of fun. But there, you got me into a little rabbit run there, John. But in answering your question, would you say that including triplets are a big part? Not necessarily. You can do what you like. You can write 7 sets of triplets if you want. You could do you could do something really fun with that, actually. If you're going to be in 7/4, you have that 12/8 thing for kind of like 1950s blues ballads, dun, 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 which is 12/8, right? So that's triplets, effectively. I mean, it's 12/8s, 12/8 notes in the bar, but they're all grouped into groups of 3. So it feels like 4/4, but with 4 triplets on each beat. Extend that out into 7/8 and make something unique out of that. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 1, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 31. Oh, okay, that's an interesting little time signature I had never really thought of before. Go for that. Give that a try. 7 beats that are all kind of triplets. That could be quite fun. It would be an interesting little twist on that 1950s kind of blues ballad thing, the dun 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 Doom, 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 doom. You could do something totally smacking the mic again. You could totally do something very, very cool. Extend that out into a bar of 7. I would love to hear somebody try that. So there you go. Let's see. 6/8 staccato. Polyrhythms. Yes, polyrhythms are great fun. Let's see. I think I'm up to date with all of this. Six eight can move all around because of 6/4/3/4. Yes, that's another thing you can do. 6/8. You can have so much fun with 6/8, and I have done this with various arrangements I've done over the years of the Rodgers and Hammerstein song "My Favorite Things." Doing that kind of like with a kind of jazz waltz feel to it. So ding 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 1 2 3 4 5 6 1 2 3 4 5 6. There was a time. I mean, the most famous jazz version of that song has got to be John Coltrane's version of it. Which kind of doesn't necessarily go completely down that kind of jazz waltz thing. But when I was at university, that was one of the ways in which we did it. We kind of did it as this kind of like... So we kind of did it as that kind of jazz waltz thing. And as we were kind of like getting into kind of group improvisation, I worked out that if I did a little bit of a calculation, I could play a normal 4/4 jazz swing ride pattern, and it would be exactly 1/3 of the tempo of the 6/8, and it would still fit metrically. So I'd go from ding 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 ding, and it still fits. 1 2 3 4 5 6 1 2 3 4 5 6 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4, and it would fit perfectly. And then the whole band started doing it. Once they heard me doing it on the ride cymbal, the whole band started doing it. So you'd have that underlying 6/8 thing, and then we go, and we'd switch into like a couple of maybe 5 minutes of kind of like playing this nice sort of mean down and dirty kind of blues shuffle thing, and then we go back to the ding 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 ding. It was great fun. You can have so much fun with rhythm. You can have so much fun with different time signatures and implying another time signature on top of an already existing one. So yeah, definitely go and try some of those things out. Even if you're not in jazz, even if you're in straight rock and roll, try something like dropping in a bar of 7 into one of your songs. Or kind of, playing about with that whole idea of a straight 4/4 beat, but everybody else is playing in 7/4. It can be lots of fun, and it can be a little bit unsettling for your listener. And if that kind of goes with the subject matter of your song, then definitely worth pursuing. Blue Danube is a perfect example of a true waltz. Yes, it is. There's a couple of different ways in which you can play Blue Danube. You can play it kind of the way a lot of people interpret it, which is as a straight kind of almost where everything is kind of... I mean, I'm not playing Blue Danube because I don't want to get kind of copyright or anything like that, but where it's a little bit, where it's very kind of, it's a little bit pa in style. Or you can go with the more Viennese waltz style, which was kind of popular around the time of Mozart, the latter part of his life, and certainly people like Elgar and Strauss picked up this whole idea of kind of giving the waltz a little bit of it's not quite jazzing it up. It's probably as jazzing it up as it would be before jazz existed, but it kind of gives a little bit of a snap. Instead of going, it would go something like this. Kind of gives a little bit of a snap to it. I'm exaggerating it a little bit, just kind of so you can hear it. But you can certainly play Blue Danube that way, or you could play it the really straight kind of almost French way of doing it, which has no snap at all. But yes, it's another great song in 3. And again, you can play that as kind of a 6/8 thing, and you can superimpose kind of metric modulations on top of that as well, which is what I was kind of doing with that kind of, playing 1/3 of the tempo, but in 4/4. It is technically a metric modulation. Touch and Go by the Cars is in 5/4 against 4/4 during the intros and verses. That's a tough one to play. Yeah, it is. It really is. You have to, if you're the guy playing 4/4 and everybody else is playing in 5, you have to fixate yourself on what you are doing. You have to have that chronometer, absolutely, that metronome completely internalized, so you always know where your 1 is. Even if everybody else's 1 is moving around, yours is in the same place all the time. You have to stick rigidly to it. Definitely worth doing. I Got Rhythm, I Got Music, Gershwin. Yes! I Got Rhythm. Probably one of the most famous popular songs ever, actually, arguably, because so many other songs were based on the chord changes of I Got Rhythm by George and Ira Gershwin. It's a great song, actually, because it doesn't do anything spectacular rhythm-wise, apart from it's a little bit syncopated. And there's a really, really good arrangement of it by the pianist and composer Dave Grusin. Dave Grusin is a jazz pianist, but he's also a film composer, has written for television and film a lot, and has won multiple Grammy Awards for doing so. But one of the things he did was he made a record, I think in 1991, with some all-star session musicians, where they did his arrangements of Gershwin classics. And one of those was I Got Rhythm, which they did in 7/8. Fun little fact for you. And it worked really well, because it just fitted beautifully the way they did it. John is asking where Jonny Gibe is. He's taking the night off. He's taking a break today so that he can just rest. He's having quite a challenging time at the moment. All is well. He's fine. He's doing all right, but he's just got a lot on his plate at the moment. There's a lot of things going on, so he just kind of needed a bit of a breather. So I was happy to accommodate that. And Ronald is talking about polymeters. Yes, you cannot do polymeters in Notion or Studio One currently. Who knows whether it'll be something that gets added down the line. I personally hope so, but we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, polymeters would be good. Being able to do 3/4 and 7/4 at the same time would be cool. At the moment, you can't really do it. Well, you can. You can work it out. You can perform it into Studio One, but you'll not have like the different time signatures at the same time. Watch Greg Hawkes play Touch and Go live. He's using his fingers on the left hand to count in 4s. You know what? I didn't know that. Syncopation, yes. We're kind of talking about it now, but certainly I could do something on how to use syncopation in your songs. You know what? Here's the interesting fun fact, is that most people and most songwriters, they kind of do syncopation without thinking about it. You know why they do it? Because it's what people are already exposed to musically. Because, particularly in the West, most songwriters in the West are familiar enough with popular culture and popular music over the last 100 years that they have imbibed syncopation without really being aware of it. So singing across the bar line or singing a rhythm that goes across the beat is actually really easy to do. And it's not something that people in the West particularly need to practice because it's so embedded in popular music, even though it has its roots in kind of, turn of the century music hall. And, that made its way in, there's the influence of African and Caribbean music brought in via the slave trade into the United States, mixed that with some military music, mixed that with church music that already pre-existed, mixed that with vaudeville and music hall that already existed. And suddenly you start to get the beginnings of jazz. And jazz is, it takes its name from the whole idea of rhythms that go against the beat, which at the time, at the beginning of the jazz era, it was not common, and it was done for effect, to stress certain words. Whereas now we just kind of do it. It's just kind of part and parcel of what we do in popular music nowadays. But back then, syncopation was kind of, it was unusual, and it wasn't done very much. It was done for effect. It was done at the end of a phrase, or it was done to extend or delay the end of a phrase, kind of allowing it to extend over the bar line. Whereas nowadays, we just do it. We just go da 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 da. All of that is syncopated. None of that is on the beat specifically, but we just do it quite naturally. Now, the more you get into jazz, the more you get into much more complex rhythms, but essentially there's nothing in a standard pop song either by Bob Dylan or the Beatles or the Eagles or even in country music where you don't get some syncopation. But syncopation is very, very simply something that goes across the beat. So if the pulse is here, 1, 2, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I play on the piano, what I'm doing on the piano here is syncopated because it's going against the beat. It's going against the pulse. And, that's just simple eighth note syncopation. But, I can do 16th note syncopation. So if I take the same pulse, 1, 2, 3, 4. Whatever you want, And that's all syncopation is, really. Vital Caron is here. Hello, Vital. Good to see you. Welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Let's see. What else do we have? Any more questions? Because we've got about 12 minutes left, and I have been doing a lot of talking. Time for some tea. But yes, I'll absolutely take some more questions, folks. Or you're just going to hear me drumming on my Studio Live series mixer for the rest of the evening. Which I'm sure you don't really want to do. especially as the mic's the other way around, so you're probably not getting a whole lot of it. But yes. In disco, we call it off eighths. Yes. Yeah. There's the pulse. I'm clipping the mic a little bit. Let's do it a bit softer. It's actually really hard to do it without clipping the mic. But anyway, you get the point. Off eighths is a good way to call it. And that's essentially what it is. They are off. They are away from the beat. Can MIDI cope with polymeters? Yes and no. MIDI only ever deals with data. Raw data. Basically, note values, durations, actual pitch, and also it deals with no on, no off, and all sorts of various other expression things as well, like pitch bend, modulation. You know, where's my mod wheel? Where's my pitch bend wheel on a particular sound? So yes, it deals with raw data. It doesn't really interpret it in terms of where's the beat, specific bars, measures, time signatures. It doesn't deal with that particularly. It might have that as its framework, but it more or less doesn't really deal with that. It just kind of goes, okay, this note started here and it ended here. So there was a note on there. It lasted this time. And then there was a note offset, which means we don't generate the sound after the note off. Oh, and it was F sharp 3. Oh, and there was a pitch bend up and then a pitch bend to the center. That's kind of what MIDI does. It's not really musical in that sense, which is why they call it musical instrument digital interface. It's a language. It's a language that allows a keyboard controller or something like that to be able to control samples and sounds and that kind of stuff in a DAW. So it doesn't really strictly kind of deal with meter at all, particularly. But yeah, it's just a language, really. I would think run separate MIDI tracks. So yes, in the context of using MIDI inside of Studio One, you can use the pattern editor to create patterns of like 64 notes length and then have that repeated. And you can do whatever you like within those patterns. So you could have like a whole, I think my colleague Donut Bazil did a whole video on creative ways in which you can use the pattern editor to create some unusual and cool little, polyrhythms using the pattern editor. So you got different patterns of different lengths, odd lengths, and make them kind of go against each other. So that would work. But yes, and then if you want to, when you're wanting to quantize, the only thing you have to think about is actually your note values. So don't think of this bit was in 3/4 and I also had a bar of 5/4 running at the same time. So I had 3/4 and 5/4 running at the same time. Don't, when you're coming to quantizing in Studio One, don't think of it that way. Think of it in terms of if you set your time signature for the song as 5/4, then the 3/4 bar is obviously going to be shorter. It's only going to be 3/4 notes in length, whereas the time signature of your song is 5/4. So the new beat 1 for the 3/4 is going to start on beat 4, I think. Hang on, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, on beat 4. So you have beat 4 and beat 5, which will be beats 1 and beat 2 of the new 3/4 bar. And so you're going to get some overlaps, but they will all come together at a particular point where both have beat 1 at the same time. But because you cannot do technically polymeters in Studio One, then the way around that is you have to have it mentally mapped in your mind, so you know where your bar ones are for the 3/4, and it means you're going to have to read your the grid in the MIDI editor in 2 different ways. But if you can kind of mentally handle that, then you'll be okay. But in terms of quantizing and getting everything lined up, only think about the shortest note values that you have actually performed. So even if you have a 5/4 and 3/4 concurrently going on, then just think about the note values within that context. So if the shortest note value of the entire song is a 16th note, then that's what you set the quantized values to when you're quantizing, and then everything will line up. The beat ones will never line up, except on those points when they do, but they will not always line up all the time, because one bar has only 3 beats in it and the other one has 5. So they're not always going to land together, but there will come points where they do. And when you get to that, that's where your beat 1 is, for those 2 bars coming together. But yeah, they won't always line up, and you have to realize that. You have to get your head around that fact that a bar of 3 is going to be shorter than a bar of 5, and so they're always going to be out of step until that point where they're not out of step, and then they'll go back out again, then they'll come back in, then they'll go back out and come back in. So you just need to know where those points are in your grid, and you're going to have to do a little bit of maths. But it'll work. Let's see. John says, wrap your head around this. An empirical study of syncopation in American popular music, 1890 to 1939, David Huron and Anne Omen. I'll have to look that up, for sure. Cool. So yes, it's going to be a little bit of math. Whether it'll be in MIDI 2.0, I don't know. I doubt it, because MIDI is just note data. It's just a language. That's all it really is. And with MIDI 2.0, all that's happening is the vocabulary of the language has been expanded, fundamentally. That's it. And, eventually some manufacturers will start supporting MIDI 2.0. But right now, all that's happened with MIDI 2.0 is the language has expanded for the first time in 40 years, pretty much. But yes, there's like more parameters available, that kind of stuff. But as to how it handles time signatures, that kind of stuff, MIDI doesn't really technically do that. It just goes F#1 lasted that amount of clocks. Okay. So that's where the note on is, that's where the note off is. Note on, several clocks later, note off. Oh, and pitch bend. Oh, and a bit of modulation at the end. That's all it deals with. But yeah, there's lots of books out there on syncopation. Actually, a good one to study is oh man, I did this when I was in big band at university, and I've forgotten the name of it. I forget who wrote it, but the book was called The Art of Syncopation, and essentially all it was just pages and pages and pages of syncopated phrases. And the challenge was, you set your metronome and you sight read those syncopated phrases from the top of the page to the end of the page. And then you do the next page. And you try and do as many pages as you can without making a mistake. That was a real challenge. And then you up the tempo. So you'd start at maybe, 90 beats a minute. That kind of, walking tempo, staying alive, Bee Gees tempo. And then you'd sing your way through these syncopated phrases from top to bottom. And then you go, okay, I did that page real easy at 90 beats a minute. And then you crank it up another 10. And then eventually you're doing them at like 250 beats a minute, and you're singing your way through these phrases. And the challenge is not to make a mistake. But those are kind of the exercises associated with the art of syncopation. But it's a great book. Some form of MIDI and AI integration in our future. Who knows? Who knows? I certainly don't. I am actually a member of the MIDI Association, but I really don't know about AI and, artificial intelligence and MIDI. Who knows? You may be right. Sorry, I have an itchy nose and I've been trying to get rid of it since I started the show, and I'm not very successful. Sorry about that. Let's see. We had one for drums as well. Yes. Yeah, there is a great book. I think it's Jim Chapin who wrote a great book on reading jazz figures, big band figures. I think it was Jim Chapin. Yeah, I think it was Jim Chapin. I might be mistaken on that, but you can certainly check. But yeah, there's a lot of great books out there that will tackle that subject. MIDI 2.0 will have better resolution, and there's MPE. MPE is already implemented in the current iteration of MIDI. It's not strictly it's not strictly a MIDI 2.0 thing, but I'm pretty sure that MPE is something that is just going to continually be developed and explored, and kind of what you can and cannot trigger with it is going to be explored as well. Currently, it's kind of mostly a VST2 thing, but I'm sure at some point somebody will come up with a way to support VST3 for it. I would imagine somewhere along the line. But who knows? We'll have to wait and see. But yes, MIDI 2.0 has a wider vocabulary. It has better resolution. It can do more stuff than the current iteration of MIDI can do. It can handle more parameters, that kind of thing. But yes, it's about flipping time. They updated MIDI. I mean, essentially, the spec for MIDI 1, effective, what we're now calling MIDI 1, was last updated in 1996. And if you're really interested, I have the full specification document for MIDI as it was updated in 1996. So if you're interested in that kind of thing, let me know, drop me an email, and I will maybe pass it over to you if you're up for it. Anyway, we are out of time, and we haven't really talked that much about songwriting except talking about time signatures, which is really cool. Thank you, John, for triggering that discussion off. That was very cool. I enjoyed that because that's something I'm really, really passionate about. But other than that, folks, I'm going to have to bid you a good night because I need to go and sleep, and I also need to deal with whatever is irritating my nose because it's annoying me at the moment. So I will see you guys on Sunday. We will have a show this Sunday. We didn't last Sunday because for the first time in 14 months, I was out of town. And it was great. I loved it. I was very glad to be away. So yeah, go and have a good rest of your week. And I'll see you back here for Sunday Night Live at the usual time. See you then, folks. Good night.